When I realized I may have met people at stages where their emotional, intellectual, and character development were incomplete, and then I also sat back and thought about how many people met versions of me that were incomplete, it helped me put forgiveness into perspective. And I understood even if the pain left behind still lingered, they still deserve forgiveness. Because it's very possible that one day the healed, restored, better version of them might cross paths with me again. What would it say about me if all I wanted to do was equate them to their past? That's how you build emotional intelligence that's not contingent upon how you feel. Instead, it's contingent upon wisdom.
What up, world? Live on that with Mr. Be Great today, Lamar King Sr. Glad y'all tapped in with me. It's another all positive podcast. And Mr. Be Great today has some words of encouragement. And y'all already know, I'm just going to jump right on in. Now, the topic of discussion today is emotional maturity. Now, most of us, we weren't taught how important it is to identify your own emotions as well as the people around you. It's just like, especially in the Black community, you're taught to not show your emotions, wear your heart on your sleeves and things of that nature, right? And it can grow and fester into some mental trauma as you grow on, as you grow into your adult years. But I really want to harp on this and talk about this because we live in a time where everybody is highly opinionated, and sometimes we can quote unquote get in our feelings. And even with me saying that phrase, get in your feelings, it can come off as a negative connotation in a lot of people's psyche, even the mention of being in your feelings. But I'm here to tell you that your emotional maturity to be able to handle and deal with your emotions at a high level is very important to your growth. And there's a number of tactics or things you can do to kind of work on or perfect, should I say, your emotional intelligence as we grow and move throughout life. When it comes down to the components of being an emotional mature person, one of the first things you got to have is self-awareness. You have to understand who you are. You have to understand what triggers you. You have to understand what makes you feel a certain way when it comes down to dealing with people and dealing with yourself. The second part is self-management, right? You got to have a checklist. You got to have a roadmap. You got to have a guide to navigate you through this thing called life. And the third one is social awareness, being aware that it's not about you. It's really not about you per se when it comes down to dealing with people, unless you're going to live in a bubble, unless you're going to be a hermit crab, unless you're not going to interact with people around you. You got to be socially aware of what other people may be dealing with or what other people may be going through, and not just make it all about you, right? And lastly, your relationship management. You got to be able to manage your relationships, knowing when to say, how to say it, why to say it, and in a way that you're not coming off as condescending or selfish or coming off as a person who just doesn't care. Because we can have our emotions to hijack us. We can get in a conversation with people, get heated, and our emotions take over us. And we all know when we say things out of anger, sometimes we can say things that we really don't mean, but we're just trying to get back. We're trying to get our lick back. We're trying to get the last word in, and we're not keeping in mind of who we're talking to or what they may have dealt with or what they may be going through. And we all just worried about, oh, you hurt my feelings. So and that's what the whole goal of this show is, for you to understand. To become emotionally mature, you got to be self-aware. You got to be able to have self-management skills. You got to be socially aware, and you got to be able to deal with relationships and manage them in a way that you're not stepping on people's toes, that you're not being blatantly disrespectful, that you're not just thinking about yourself, right? Because to be emotionally intelligent is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions as well as others around you. So in other words, you got to be empathetic. You got to put yourself in other people's shoes when you're talking to you. When you're in the environment of other people, they all have a life. You know, everybody has their own thing going on, and oftentimes we're so driven by this selfish society that we live in, that it's all about me. You know, oftentimes people often say that, oh, I don't care about what nobody think. That's so far from the truth, and that shows a level of emotional immaturity when you say, I don't care what people think. You do. We all care what people think to some extent, because even like, take for example, even when someone takes your picture, oh, let me see it. It's the only reason why you want to see that picture is because you're worried about what someone else is thinking. I don't want to get too sidetracked, and I just want to stay on topic, because I want you to understand that your emotions, and we all are emotional creatures. We all are emotional beings. People oftentimes want to say, well, women are emotional, but I'm here to tell you that I think men are more emotional, because men have taught themselves to just dumb down their emotions, put them in the background, only deal with them on an individual basis and not really express themselves. That's why it's so hard for a lot of men in relationships and women in relationships for the woman to get their men to open up, because they have been taught since day one to suppress, put it on the background, put it in the background and let it fester. And eventually one day it's going to come out and it's going to blow up. And that's the most emotional, immature person that we know, because if you can't express yourself in a way that you're not shooting down the next person, you're not blowing up, you're not, just not being considerate of others, and if you can't express yourself and talk about it and communicate in a way where you get your point across without being this blatantly disrespectful person, I'm here to tell you that you are definitely emotionally immature. And you have to work on these things. Just like I said, you got to be self-aware. You got to be self-aware as far as what makes me go off. What's that thing? What's that pet peeve that has you in an uproar when it happens to you? And once you identify it, now it's time to say, okay, now how do I combat? How do I refrain myself from acting in a manner that is going to make me act in a way that's not pleasing to the eye? And so many of us deal with this, and so many of us are in denial that we feel like we are emotionally intelligent, but I'm here to tell you that you're actually emotionally immature. And you gotta, and it takes brutal honesty. It takes a brutal, honest person to themselves to say, you know what, I have an issue. I have a problem with my anger. I have a problem with my jealousy. I have a problem with my envy. And so many people are denying. We all are in denial in some capacity, that we don't want to show our weakness, so to say, right? Because we've been taught that since day one, right? So you got to find the ability to understand yourself, understand who you are, understand what makes you go off, right? And then you got to also empathize with people who you are surrounding yourself with, so where you're not stepping on people's toes, where you're not shooting them down, where you're not showing empathy for them, you're not putting yourself in their shoes, you're not understanding and looking at it from their point of view, right? So my challenge for my listeners is, in ways to practice to become emotionally mature, you need to take time to reflect. Take time to reflect. Look back on your life. Look back on the times where you got yourself in situations and you may had to get locked up, or you may, ended a relationship, or you may fell out with family or friends. How were you acting in that moment? Take your time, take yourself back in time and look at yourself and say, okay, me and so fell out. What happened? What transpired? And I'm not talking about a certain situation or certain thing and it's not about somebody did something to you. How it takes two to tango. So what part did you play in this, right? How did it influence your behavior? Or how did it influence the way that you act in a situation where your stress levels were heightened, where your aggression and your anger was heightened? How did you get to that point? And there's so many people that go through this. I've dealt with it so many times and still deal with it today. And I'm pretty sure you do too. But I challenge my listeners that you have to take inventory of who you are and what makes you go off. What takes you there? And so many of us, we're constantly in denial that we have it all together. We want to portray this picture to the world that we got our shit together, but we all suffer from some type of emotional immaturity in some capacity, right? And that's one of the reasons for my platform is for us to tap into these things, for us to talk about these things, for us to identify these things and find a solution for these things, right? Another way is you can't be so quick to react or be overwhelmed with stress and be so hard on yourself when you're feeling those vulnerabilities of life that you're faced with day in and day out. You may be going through some financial troubles and you're asking yourself, how did you get here? And you're overwhelmed with depression. You're overwhelmed with stress. You keep replaying that shit over in your mind over and over again. But Mr. Be Great today is here to tell you it's time for you to relax. It's time for you to take a seat back, look at your life from a bird's eye view and say, okay, all right, this is how I got here. I was recklessly spending my money. I'm always down for the turn up. I'm eating out every other day. I'm not taking full inventory of the money that's coming in versus the money that's going out. And that's how you got here. That's how you got to the point where you're in a financial strain. You may be in a rocky point in your relationship. It's time for you to take a step back and say, how did we get here? How was we so in love and so all about each other in the beginning, and then along the road we got bored, or we start entertaining other people, we start focusing on other things, we start indulging in our career so much, we start indulging into our friends and family so much, and not so much looking at your spouse and empathizing with them and understanding that this person is the same person that you fell in love with. But oftentimes we're so emotionally immature, we forget about that day one. We forget about that first week, that first month that we were together and how we got to where we are today. So I challenge my listeners to take inventory of your life. Take inventory of the times that made you go off, that made you go down that path and go down that road, because you can't make it in this world alone. You have emotional immaturity traits in your life. It's because of things that you've constantly done and not recognized them. Not being honest, not being blatantly honest about yourself. And we all do it to a certain extent or to a certain capacity, that we push it way in the back. We push it way down, and we want to put on this show and put on this front for the world that we have our thoughts and our feelings and our mind all together. But we all are a work in progress. We all need some tweaking. We all need some fine tuning that we should be trying to continuously work on each day of our lives. And one of the biggest things that shows that you are emotionally mature is that you express empathy to the utmost, and you have genuine compassion for what other people may be dealing with. And again, like I said once before, it's not about you. I understand that we want the better things, we want everything to be on the up and up for us, but what about for the people around you? What about the people that surround you each and every day, the people you talk to, the people you interact with? You got to understand that it's not about you. I think Jim Rohn had one of the best sayings that I live by. If you help enough people get what they want, they'll help you get what you want. And it has to be genuine. It just can't be looking at it as something a quid pro quo. You can't be looking at it, well, I'll do this if you do this. That's not how it works. That again, that shows a lack of emotional maturity, because you're looking for something in return. And I challenge you to do things without looking at the end in mind. I had a great friend on the show a few months ago, D-Boy Cannon. He is one of the most genuine, selfless people that I know. And he does it from the bottom of his heart. He does it without expecting anything back. And I think that's why he has so many blessings in his life, is because he understands I got to help more people than per se than what people are going to help me. And you can't look at life thinking it's all about you and that it's all about what you can get out of the deal. If you wake up each and every day with the mindset of, I'm going to go out and help someone, I'm going to go out and make someone smile today, I'm going to go out and be a benefit to someone else, I promise you all these things will come back to you. All these things will come to you in tenfold. And you got to learn how to effectively communicate. Many of us don't know how to communicate without aggression, without an attitude, without me in mind, right? You got to be able to effectively communicate with others in a way that you're not belittling them, that you're not, putting yourself first. You know, we all say me first, and I get it. You are the captain of your ship. You are the one in control of your whole life. But at the end of the day, you got so many people in this world. It's so many mechanisms in place that you depend on, and it's all at the hands of someone else. And if you have the trust of a stoplight that it's going to change, you're putting your trust in someone else. And I challenge my listeners to understand that you got to be empathetic. You got to put yourself in someone else's shoes. You got to be able to express yourself also in a way that is not detrimental to them. We're so big on keeping it real. Oh, I'm gonna keep it real, but you're demeaning someone else in the process. You're shooting down someone else's dreams and goals in the process. So I challenge you to understand that you need other people in your life. Emotional maturity is the act of understanding that. It shows that you have grown into a person of new, and you've thrown out the old ways of handling things. And you understand that I need people in my life. I need people around me. I need my family. I need my friends. I need my spouse. I need my kids. And I challenge you to act in a way and be blatantly honest about who you are and what sets you off and what makes you go to that place that oftentimes you hate it after the fact. And we do it so often. We do it so regularly that we think that it is normal. We think that this is the way I am. This is just the way I am. But I'm here to tell you that you got to change your ways. You got to become emotionally mature about this thing called life. If you want to prosper, if you want to go further, if you want to go higher in the whole realm of things. There's so many people in this world that wear their heart on their sleeves and just say what comes out of their mouth. They have no filter. That's emotionally immature, because you can't allow how you feel to be rubbed off on other people, and you can't allow what other people are going through to rub off on you. You got to learn how to stay neutral and be calm and be effective in your communication skills so that you can get the best outcome out of the situation. I tell people often, though, it's not about the journey, it's all about the destination, right? So let's say if you're in a conversation with one of your friends and you guys are, a trusted friend, a person that you trust your life with, that you would give anything for them, right? And the conversation goes left, and the aggression level starts to rise and get higher and higher. And you gotta take time to stop and think and say, okay, do I still want this person in my life? Do I still value this person as a friend or family member? Do I value their opinion? Do I value their criticism? Is this person someone that's helping me grow? Is this someone that I truly love? And if the answer is yes, you can't just come out of your mouth and say anything just because your feelings may be hurt or just because you are in your feelings. Because life is not about you again. So when you're having these conversations with someone and things get heightened and the levels go up, someone has to be the bigger person. And I challenge that bigger person to be you. I challenge you to stop and say, hold up, wait a minute. I truly love this person. I respect this person. I want this person in my life. Let me de-escalate. Let me calm the situation. And you got to understand that life is going to take you there. And you got to have the ability to decipher between when aggression is truly needed. Now, if you're in a dangerous situation where harm is about to be inflicted on you, then of course, yes. But if you're having a conversation with a trusted friend, a trusted family member, a trusted colleague, and you letting your emotions take you and overwhelm you and take you to a place that to a point of no return, I promise you the destination is not going to be where you want to go, especially if it's someone you truly, truly love. And I think we get into these situations where we let our emotions, we let our feelings get the best of us. And I challenge my listeners, you got to practice this. You have to. And one of the main ways that you can practice is through meditation. Breathing. Meditation is only the art of breathing. When you truly can meditate, all you're focused on is your inhale, exhale, no thoughts. And that's very hard to do, if you all know. Because if you can control your thoughts in the act of meditation, you can control your emotions in a heated argument. Because we all know we've said things that we wish we could take back. We've done things that we wish we could do over. And then it's not until after the situation is gone, after the relationship is ended, after you've gone on days and weeks down the road, that you wish you had handled that a little different. But I challenge you to exude emotional intelligence in a situation where in the past you would have acted totally different. My wife came home the other day from work and she said, "I'm proud of myself, babe. This one of my coworkers was, this, just going, she said, nah." I calmed down. I said, okay. And then she effectively communicated herself in a way that the coworker was shocked, because for those who don't know, my wife, she got a mouth on her. You know what I mean? She can say some things. She can cut low, and I think sometimes people take the approach of being real too literally, that they don't keep in mind of other people's feelings. They don't keep in mind of what people may be dealing with. And you got to be mindful that it's not about you. You got to understand that there are 8 billion other people in this world, and it's not strictly about you. And I think we've been caught up and taught and programmed to be this way in this highlight social media driven society that we live in, that, oh, I don't care. I'm gonna pop my shit. It's all about me. But that's the number one trait of an emotionally immature person. And I challenge you to work on this. I challenge you to work on being self-aware of who you are and what makes you go there. I challenge you to understand that you gotta have some self-management skills, to where you got a checklist, you got a guide to go by, you got a roadmap to your destination, right? And I challenge you to be socially aware. Be aware of your surrounding. Be aware of what a person may be dealing with. Express empathy in a way that you don't know. This person may have just lost their job. This person may have just lost a family member. This person may have just be feeling overwhelmed with life. You got to navigate in a way where you can communicate effectively and talk things out in a calm, collective way. And so many of us, we get heightened. We get so aggressive when things don't go our way, and we think because I'm just keeping it real that we're doing the right thing. But Mr. Be Great today is here to tell you, you are emotionally immature if you feel like that you are keeping it real at the expense of someone else. You got to learn to communicate and put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand that, hey, you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar. And that's a old cliche that most people don't understand. Most people don't put it in their life and effectively use it, because we're so accustomed to catering to our own needs, catering to our own emotions, and then suppressing the ones that we should be talking about. I challenge my listeners to understand that you are an emotionally mature person. It's just the fact that you haven't practiced it. You haven't put systems in your life and routines in your life to help you deal with the stressful situations that we deal with. There's a guy on the internet that says depression is a choice. I somewhat agree with that, because when you put yourself and you allow the thoughts and you allow the naysayers, you allow the outside influence of the world and the things that you're going through jump down on your emotions and just beat you down. You let it take you there. You let it make you stay in the bed all day. It let you replay it in your mind all over again, because you haven't taken self-inventory of what really makes you go there. And I get it. Some people may need a little more help. Some people may have to seek therapy, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with it, because when you understand that you have a problem, you understand that you have an issue dealing with your emotions, you may need to seek professional help. You may need to find yourself laying on that couch, and there is nothing wrong with it. But society will tell you, if you got a therapist, something is wrong with you. That's not necessarily wrong. You are aware. You are emotionally mature about the things that you're dealing with, and you're honest. You're blatantly and brutally honest with yourself that, hey, I can't fix this on my own. Some people have the ability to go within and listen to Mr. Be Great today, and listen to motivational speakers, and read self-help books, and go into that operating room of life with their emotions and come out a better person. But some people can't. And the reason why most can't, because they're lying to themselves. They're in denial. And they think they have it all figured out. I'm just a real motherfucker. That's what they'll say. I just keep it real. I ain't got no filter. But that shows the lack of maturity when it comes down to your emotions. And I challenge you to go deep within. I challenge you to have that self-awareness. I challenge you to have that self-inventory of your past experiences, of the things that you've been through in life, and fix them. And if you need some additional help, go get it. Go get it. There's so many free programs out here that you don't even have to come out of pocket with. that can help you. But I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you, there's another thing. Everything free is not as effective. Sometimes you got to spend a little money. If you can go turn up with your friends, you can go turn up with yourself. You can go find some help to help you get through this thing called life, because it can be a challenge. And I think because the mold that has been placed on our young minds, and as we grow old into our adult lives, we carry these things on, and we never address them. We never identified. We never have taken that inventory of what we've been through, so we don't continue to have these problems to occur in our lives as we grow old. And I really want my listeners to understand that in order to obtain emotional maturity, you have to be self-aware. You have to take that self-inventory. You got to be able to effectively communicate. You have to put yourself in an empathetic mindset, to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to not be all about you and hear them out. Because see, most people, they listen to respond. They don't listen to understand. And I think that's the barrier and the breakdown of communication, or should I say effective communication, is because everybody want to get their point across. Everybody want to get their side out. And I challenge you to listen sometimes, and listen with the integrity to understand what a person is saying. And don't be so quick to react. Don't be so quick to be overwhelmed. Don't be so quick to anger, because then you're gonna put yourself in situations that later down the road you may regret, because you haven't addressed them and they've just festered and brewed and simmered in the background. Then one day when all hell breaks loose, now you're faced with some obstacles that it's gonna be far worse if you just had addressed them in the beginning, if you just had nipped it in the bud. And I challenge you guys, go within. Meditate. 10 minutes a day of meditation is far more time than most people do in this country. I challenge you to sit down and breathe and just deal with yourself and deal with your thoughts, and understand that everything doesn't take a response. Everything doesn't need a response. Everything doesn't need a heightened response. Everything doesn't need a lashback or a final word. It's okay not to get the last word in. And so many of us, we want to get the last word in, especially when you're talking about a heated argument or a heated debate. And that's why I try to deter myself from going down that road, because I've seen myself in my past life, when I let my anger get the best of me, then I do something that I later regret. And I'm pretty sure you all have done the same thing as well. So I challenge my listeners, practice emotional maturity by meditation. Practice emotional intelligence by self-inventory. Practice by using effective communicative skills without belittling someone else or not be at the expense of someone else. And it's a hard thing to do, especially when you're constantly still denying and lying to yourself. Go look in that mirror and ask yourself, where is my problem? Where do I lack the empathy at? Where do I lack the compassion for others? That is, I'm so selfish that I'm still lying about the whole situation. Well, it ain't me, it's them. You know, it's so many people that has had failed relationships, and the common thing about it is it's never their fault. It's always someone else's fault. I've been in relationships and a lot of it was my fault. And I'm not going to sit here and say it was always someone else. That's because we have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to look at our lives and take inventory on the things we've done wrong so we can get them right now. I hope you guys get this. I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from, because so many of us lack emotional maturity or emotional intelligence because we're in denial, because we continue to tell ourselves these lies. We continue to want to put up this highlight reel like everything is all peachy clean, when we know deep down that we got some stuff we need to work on. All right, and that's all I got for y'all today. I really want you guys to understand that life is not strictly about you. Life is about the people around you. Life is about the network of people you deal with day in and day out. All right, and if you want to be a model person, or you want to be a high value person in life, you got to take inventory and be brutally honest with yourself about who you are and what triggers you, what makes you go there, and do it in a way where you're not belittling yourself. See, effective communication with others you also need effective communication with yourself. You can't be so hard on yourself because you had a mishap, because you had a shortcoming, because you handled things wrong. Just identify it and be real with yourself and understand that, hey, we are human. We do make mistakes, but a repeated mistake is not a repeated mistake. A repeated mistake is a choice of not to identify and work on. And I challenge you guys to be honest with yourself and take inventory of your life Take inventory of the times you let things make you go down that road, made you be overly aggressive in situations where you could have just de-escalated. You could have calmed yourself. You could have taken the breath. Woo-sigh, like bad boys say. Like, you got to understand that it's not about being the big dog. It's not about being the aggressor in all situations. Sometimes you can take a seat back and listen to understand. Because sometimes, and just because a person takes it there, or a person takes a heightened aggression role in the conversation, that doesn't mean you do it as well. I told you guys many times before, you don't fight fire with fire. You fight fire with water. And the way you handle a heightened conversation, it's with calmness, it's with compassion, it's with empathy. And especially if it's someone you value and someone you want in your life and someone you need in your life, I challenge you to do so. I challenge you to de-escalate. I challenge you to go within and understand where they're coming from and effectively communicate how we're going to get past this, how we're going to make it through this, as opposed to trying to fight fire with fire and combating everything they say with a loud voice and with so much aggression, right? Also, when you're dealing with yourself, don't be so hard to where you're overwhelmingly adding stress and depression onto yourself because things went wrong. Things happen. Things go left. That's life. But don't continue to beat yourself up, as well as don't beat others up. Because we live in a world where we're expected to be perfect, but I'm here to tell you, you're not going to be that. The only way you can combat that is have that self-inventory and look at yourself and go deep within and say, hey, you know what? I may be the issue. Now, how do I fix this? What is the solution? Keep in mind, it's not about the journey. It's about the destination. What do you want out of this? What do you want the outcome to be? And if you're looking at it as now, this no, I'm going to be right. I'm the right. It's them. It's always them. You very well may be the problem. You very well may be the issue. And until you are honest and be brutally honest with yourself, you're going to continue to have it day in and day out, even long down the road. All right? So y'all make sure y'all go check me out. Mr. Be Great Today on TikTok, YouTube, and Fanbase. Great Today INC on IG. And On Air with Mr. Be Great Today on Facebook. I love you all. And you already know. Be great today. Peace.